just getting on this morning. Um, I named the title because, yeah, made it another day on this lovely earth here. Um, the thumbnail is the MRAP I was hit in the first time during our little Samud battle there. Um, and it's a miracle that I actually had survived that. Um, yeah, so basically, I'm just doing this as just a sort of BS sort of stream, just to talk to people, talk to subscribers, put more mileage on this car. Made it another year on this earth, so it's good to see everybody that's in here. Um, yeah, just wanted to talk to people. Just felt being sociable. I got out all my conceptual work from from way back when I had done my invasion docu-series and also the internal conflict artwork I had done. Oh, hey, Miriam, great to see you. Great to see you. Hey, yeah, I know my true blue people will be in here. So, yeah, all my true blue people will be here. I just wanted to talk to people, see if people had questions, see if people, had anything they wanted to say. Um, you know, I just wanted to, compare artwork too to see which artwork ended up being the most interesting. Let me fix the lighting. Hold on. Yeah, I wanted to compare some of the artwork I had done over my past projects because now I'm working on my audio book, and I may do some artwork for it too. This is my internal conflict artwork on the right hand side, and hey, all smiles, hey, all smiles. When you get a chance, Jennifer wanted to talk to you. It's important. It's between you and her, but she wanted to talk to you. When you get a chance. No rush. But yeah, this is my internal conflict artwork here. This is on the right hand side. On the left hand side, I have my invasion stuff. Oh yeah, no problem, all smiles, no problem. And I'm glad you're here. Thank you for coming. Made it another year on the earth. I don't do anything for I don't celebrate it. I'm not like a birthday type of party person. But what I do is, yeah. Yeah, data analyst by night. I'm glad to see you, brother, man. I haven't seen you in a minute. Where you been? Where the hell you been? What's up? Yeah. That's too funny, man. That's too funny. It is. But you see, in the internal conflict, what happened in my scenario is the armed forces split, and the active duty forces were the pansies that stayed with the regime. Oh yeah, I know, man. I know. It happens to all of us. It happens to the best of us. But I'm just glad you're here, man. Oh yeah, wedding planning. That sounds exciting. Yeah, I've had two myself in my life. That my thumbnail is my vehicle I got hit in Iraq in the first time. The second time it was at night, so of course, no pictures. But we had our cell phone cameras, and we all got out of it alive. Thank God. But my life could have ended there a couple different times in Iraq. That was one of the close calls I had. I had another one where I had narrowly missed an EFP, like a shape charge. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about that, what it did to that person, but I narrowly missed it. And there's a few other times. Iraq was something else, but I survived to tell the tale, come back, and share my experiences with others. Make artwork about warfare in the future, with fourth generation war doctrines. Yeah, that was my vehicle, all smiles. That was the vehicle I was hit in. That was the one that I ran over the triple stacked anti-tank mines with the white phosphorus mortar on top. The one that set our vehicle on fire while I was knocked unconscious. I got up while the fire was starting to spread. I thought I was in hell. I thought I died and went to hell. But somebody yelled fire, and I felt my legs, and my legs were still there. So I was like, oh man, like autopilot kicked in, and like everything was like automatic. It was like my body was moving faster than my brain. So everything I was thinking, it was like watching a movie because my body was moving faster than my brain was processing everything. It was like training kicked in and took my body over. And yeah, it is wild, man. It is wild. Yeah, data analyst, it's crazy. Every time I remember it, it felt like an eternity when I was standing on the MRAP and I was debating whether to jump down, stay up there, or what, because I couldn't go down the front because the front was gone. The whole thing was blown off and it was on fire. So I was like, shit, what do I do? Because it's like a 15-foot high vehicle and you're wearing all this heavy gear. You don't want to like jump down and break your bones and shit. But like, I eventually did jump off, and the moon dust kind of broke my fall a bit, even with all that heavy gear on. I threw my rifle down and then I jumped off. But like it sort of broke my fall. Just a big poof of sand came up, and it was, man, it was wild. It was something else. But I survived that. That was right after I opened fire on Samud and on a house. It was like a mud hut, like a house that was at the end of the road, and a bunch of other stuff. I shot the road itself. I shot the house. I shot Samud, because we were taking fire from the town too. 2 bullets singed by my head. It was like they were taking pot shots at us. So I returned fire, and yeah. Then we rolled backwards, and boom! Then it happened. I was knocked unconscious. Got up. Got out of there, jumped down. Everybody else got out the back or out the sides, like in the front. Everybody bailed, and everybody had like bad back and neck injuries and head injuries, but we all survived it, thank God, before the fire spread too. We didn't start the fire. But yeah, that was quite a time there. But I came back. How long did it take? Well, all smiles. I still have seizures and issues with my motor skills and everything. I'm not fully recovered from it. But I make do. I still have pinched nerves in my back and neck. But I make do with it. I'm okay. I'm as good as I can be. I'm still able to move, and praise God for that. I'm still able to move. I'm still able to think and process thoughts. There's guys that are even worse off than me. They can't even walk straight anymore. I'm just showing all the detail in this art here. I put a lot of detail into this, as you can see. Hey, York Jess, good to see you. I hadn't seen you in a while. Yeah, it is frustrating when like my speech every now and then slurs. You hear me in my videos sometimes where I get like my tongue, it's like a tongue twister. Like when I try to say some words and it gets like slurry sounding, it's like a tongue twister. But it's like, I can get it out. It's just that it sometimes, like when I'm on rapid fire talking fast, it sometimes slips and, gets twisted up. Yeah. And I speak 2 languages. I speak German and English. Ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch. Im Jahre 2001, ich habe nach Deutschland geflogen. Ich war einem Student. Im Sommerzeit. I was saying in 2001, I was an exchange student in Germany in the summertime. So yeah, I also speak some French too, but not enough French as I do my German. My German's much better than my French is. Je m'appelle Chad. Je voudrais un jus d'orange. So I said, my name is Chad and I want a glass of orange juice. That's my French. My German's way better than my French. But yeah, I like to get out the artwork every so often and look at all the details in it and everything, and it's quite a spectacle for me that I actually was able to make all this for the projects I did. It was to get that fine of a detail with a pen is very difficult to make everything look like this with a pen. But I put a lot of detail into this, heart and soul into this concept art for everybody. Yeah, I'm just glad that I'm here. Yeah, très bien. Très bien. Oui? Yeah, Miriam, yeah. I took French for 1 year, Miriam. I took German for a lot longer. Allemand. Allemagne. Yeah, Allemand. My German. It's much better than my French is, Miriam. Yeah. Yep. Ja, im Jahre 2001, ich habe nach Europa geflogen. Yeah, I flew to Europe in 2001. Europa. Yep, you can see them. This was in the first story, if you all remember, that I wrote in my community tab, where they were trying to slow down the Chinese pincer, the eastern pincer, as it was coming around the town, and they yeah, merci beaucoup. Oui. Yeah, my French is a little rusty, Miriam, but my German's much better. But yeah, you see all the detail in this too. You can see the guy even grabbing his machine gun as they're running over the car here. They push those cars into the way to slow down that eastern pincer of the armored spearhead, the armored column, and then they rose up out of the tall grass right as they crossed the road here. They rose up out of the tall grass and tossed Molotovs at them to try and take out the lead tanks, so that they could slow down that. Thank you, Miriam. Thank you. So that they could slow down that. They could slow down the armored columns. You see this guy shooting his AK, and off in the distance you can see people shooting here. All that detail in this. Yep. See a barn off in the distance here. You can see over here is where the town is, where the town kind of starts. You can see houses. This is in the mountain battle in the mountains over there in the Rocky Mountain scenario I made. This is where they were doing a patrol and they got out, called in an artillery strike. You can see the partisans off in the woods shooting back, and see one hit right here, and you see one hit sort of like further down the hill. Thank you, Miriam. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I just wanted to talk to people. I'm just trying to be sociable here. And then they got this Civil War one, this internal conflict one. You see the guys reaching down to grab a mortar, run it over to his mortar man here, putting it in the tube. And there's a bishop of the Mormon state firing his captured Chinese W-85 machine gun. In his up-armored technical, they put armored plating on it on the sides. And the guy in front, the technical in front. There's the National Salvation Revolutionary Front's HIMARS system firing off here. One of their many HIMARS systems. You see all that detail. I should have shown more of the detail when I did the project, but I had limited recording time because of the battery, so I had to sort of just show a little bit of the art. I couldn't show all of it like I wanted to and all of its detail, but, hey, I can do that now since I'm on here with everybody. You can see this guy waving people forward like, charge, See these tanks. They're engaging enemies, and there's some technicals with them. Yep. Yeah. Of course, we have the atrocities committed by the National Salvation Revolutionary Front and the Mormon state. They have religious police who do the executions in the Mormon state. As part of the atrocities, part of the internal conflict. And then there's the Jolly Roger Death Brigades who do their executions. You see the guy throwing the lever to drop the trap door so that they all drop. These are their enemies, like former regime people that or regime supporters that got captured. Yeah. See what else. So what's everybody doing today? What's going on? You see the chat here. I have to push buttons to see what people were saying. It's crazy. Oh, it's just you, Miriam. It looks like I don't see anybody else saying nothing. But yeah, I just wanted to, be a little sociable. Here's where they're trying to hold the line. Oh, hey, all smiles. Yeah, well, you're welcome here. Yeah, that new stealth bomber. Yeah, I put that up, that H-20. Yeah, data analyst. I had that up actually as my as a picture for my live that I did the other night. I had that up on my community. I took it down though because I try not to clog up my community because I want people to go back and actually read those stories I wrote. All the stories I wrote. Ha. Yeah, data analyst. That sounds like quite a time there. Yeah. But yeah, hey, thank you, York Jess. Thank you. Yeah, sometimes I take those down, what I put up in my community tab, because I want people to go back and read those stories because they're very, very beneficial for people to read because they can help people navigate what's coming because they can show them all these types of things. This is all story artwork here. Hey Flipper, what's up, man? Yeah, this is all story art right here. This is from my story, from my first story. These are the Spetsnaz fast roping out of their hind. They used hinds in that story to as their VVS attachment, their Russian Air Force, because their Russian Air Force has all the helicopters in the Russian armed forces. It's not their army; it's their air force. So the hind is the part of the Russian Air Force that's dropping off their troops, doing a diamond formation around the LZ there, just like in the story. I try to make the art as close to everything in the story as I can, like to show what was in my mind when I was writing it, so people can understand. Here's the fob. This is the Chinese fob that they built on the. They elongated the runway a little bit when they took over the municipal airport at Broken Bow in the first story. And here's like the concrete T-walls here, a little bit of razor wire, the concertina wire on top. There's some HESCO barriers and guard tower, HESCO barrier wall with concertina wire on top. All that detail, just like Iraq, but they did it here. The Chinese made fobs here when they invaded and conquered this place. Here's all their, logistics they offload in the cargo containers, the shipping containers. When they offload their cargo, they put it in there before they move it to other parts of the fob, whether it's munitions or food or water, whatever, what have you, medical supplies. That's where they drop it off for spare parts for vehicles, fuel, all the different things. When they did resupply by air. Yeah, I'm having a pretty good day, man. Good day, Flipper. Yes, sir. How are you doing, man? You all right? Yeah, this is my convoy here, where they were doing a resupply on Route 259 in the first story. Got your APC right here, or you got your infantry fighting vehicle right here. Your WZ 551. Got some trucks behind it, another couple APCs going through the woods. Then you got some urban battles here. See our RPG being shot out of the rubble at the tank. See the smoke trail. They're shooting. There's machine gunner shooting back. Need more guys up there. And these guys are in a... Oh, good, man. Yes, God is good. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Always, always, always. You got people in a wedge formation, and they're two grenadiers tossing grenades. Got more people behind them. I just couldn't fit it all in there. They got blocked by some rubble and got ambushed. Yeah. Then you got this. One of the first concept art works I ever did was this. It was to show people what that partisan ambush looked like in the city, where the guy was tossing his look at all that detail in that weapon. Yeah, where the guy was tossing his Molotov at the armor personnel carrier, and they had their little fob built in the rubble. Yeah, all of this stuff is just meant to be educational works to show people what what a foreign occupation would be like, and how people would maybe try to resist it. Yeah, you got your howitzers here on a base, or on a forward operating base in a city, firing 155 howitzers that the Chinese have on trucks. You got a sandbagged cargo container where they keep all their shells and powders for their howitzers. Guard tower. Another guard tower. Cannon crews. Guy's covering his ears. It's firing. Shells and powder containers. Yep. Oh yeah, got your helos. Got your Z-20 utility helicopters China has, flying over the rubble and remains of the city of Phoenix after the occupation set in and they started really pounding that place. Hey, Steve-O, what's up, man? Unknown psyop. Huh? What's that, Flipper? What's hell for helicopters? Let me see. Oh yeah, they're just flying over the city, man, just dropping off troops or supplies or picking people up. Just like how it happened in Iraq too, in the big cities. Tossing a grenade in there at that guy hiding in that bedroom. These are the people armed police units that were clearing the town of Broken Bow in my first story. They were kicking doors in and sending in stack teams after people. Then you got the yeah, I was on a howitzer when I was in the Army, actually. I know a lot about field artillery because I was on the M109 A6 Paladin. So when I put all that detail into it, I know exactly what I'm putting in a lot of these. Now, this is rocket artillery. These are the Chinese grad equivalents, like the Type 86s, I believe, or 81s. It's Type 80 something. Oh, this is a hypothetical scenario, Lowrider. This is when I made my documentary series. I'm just showing concept art. Today's sort of like a BS sort of day for me. I'm just BSing, just being social, because it's my birthday. I don't celebrate my birthday, but I like to socialize with people every so often, and most of my friends, are online. I'm sort of like a homebody. I kind of just chill at my house. I don't really do a whole lot. I don't trust the world anymore like I used to. I just sort of chill at home. But yeah, these are this is in the Pacific Northwest, Lowrider. This is when the Chinese, in my scenario, in my hypothetical scenario, when they were invading the Pacific Northwest, like in that playlist. This was their, no, Lowrider, it's educational. It's to teach people how to navigate a foreign invasion. That's why I've done all this. I put my heart and soul into making this for people. Oh, were you, man? Yeah, I was a 13 Bravo, and you were a 15 Alpha. Yeah, that's cool, man. 13 Bravo's a cannon crew member, field artillery. On the howitzer, on the 155, the M109 Paladin. Yeah, that's what I was on. So you worked on helicopters, huh? This chat thing keeps disappearing. I always have to push buttons to see what people are saying. Yeah, that's cool, man. I was born in the 80s. I feel old now, though, man. I feel old. Almost 4 decades on this earth now. Almost 4 decades, and I've done so much, man. I've done so much. Hey, Lotus, what's up, man? Glad you made it. Good to see you, man. Yeah, I'm just glad I made it another year, man. I just, I put that vehicle up there as a reminder of all my close calls I've had in my life, because I could have died a whole bunch of times when I was in Iraq, and even here at home, too. I'm amazed I'm still alive. Yeah, you too, all smiles. Yeah, I mean, doesn't it feel like we're old now? I mean, and we were born in the 80s. It feels like we're old, Old school. Oh, you were a line pilot? That's cool, Flipper. That's cool, man. Yeah, this is in a town. This is when the Chinese people armed police were taking over a town in the Northwest in that scenario. This is when they were just, going through and clearing the towns. Armored personnel carriers probably dropped these guys off, and these guys are clearing the streets. Got different stack teams. Yeah, yeah. In Iraq, they called you guys Catfish Air. Catfish Air was was basically who taxied us to our fob. They called the helos Catfish Air, and that was all the Chinooks and Blackhawks that would carry us to the fob. Because when we first got to, hey Jeffrey, hey, yeah, when we first got to Iraq and we were on Balad Air Base, we had to go to this one part of the base where they had the helos. And we had to stand in line, and, we had to get on the helo, and then they would fly you out to Fob Caldwell, which is where we went, which was a pretty decent ways away from Balad, but it was pretty quick by flight, because it's in eastern Iraq, so you had to, it was maybe like 15 minutes helicopter flight time, but it was almost like 45 or an hour if you're driving. It's a lot slower, because you have to go by Fob Warhorse, and then you got to go across the Tigris, then you're at Balad, basically, but that's a long drive. I've been to all those fobs. We were our unit third ACR was like split in half. Like half of it was in Mosul and the other half was in Diyala province. So I was with the half in Diyala province, and then toward the end of our tour, we went up to Mosul to reunite with the rest of the unit before we went home. I was in Iraq for a long time, or I should say the Middle East, because I was what you call advanced party for our unit. So I went there before everybody else did from our unit, and to help offload vehicles off the ship at Al Shawaiba port, and that kept me there an extra 3 months. So our tour was like 15 months, but I ended up being in the Middle East for like 18 months. That was a long tour, man. Phew. But I didn't even want to come home at the end of it because I felt so out of place in a country like this. I didn't want to come back because I'd been there long enough that I got a taste of what real life is like, what the real world's like, and I didn't even want to come back. I actually could have stayed on that fob for the rest of my life and been happy. I had everything I needed on the fob, because when I was on the fob, the DFAC was awesome, There were times when I was away from the fob for a really freaking long time. Like when we had to go out and do our Operation Saber Tempest, our big operation out in the field where we had to go out there and quote unquote pacify some farmland and take it back for the puppet regime. We were out there for months, man, months before we could come back in the fob. First, we were on the gun line out there, at our firing point, and then after 3 months of just camping out in the desert for straight 3 months, we had to go back in for like a short time, refit, and get ready to go back out as infantry. And that's when we stayed out another 2 months, and that's when I got hit in my MRAP. I got 3 weeks off. Then they said, you can go back out, just try it again, go back out. I went back out. No sooner had I gone back out, I got hit one night when we were on a patrol. No joke. Ran over a mine. I had a feeling it was going to happen again, but it did. It sure did. It just aggravated all the other injuries I had already. But then they offered me a chance to go home, but then I was like, nah, I'm just going to stay and make my money, and I sort of don't want to go home now because I don't want to be looked at like a broke dick, as they called us. But yeah, this is the Chinese logistic points they set up along the major invasion routes where the different units can just pull up and, load up on their ammo and food and water, maybe get their vehicles serviced if they need new parts, because there's parts, there's fuel, there's all kinds of stuff at these depots. They just bring it out of the barns, set it up alongside the road. Here's the fuel drums there. This is a Chi-Com farm that they turned into a supply base for logistics during the invasion that the Trojans ran. You see the little tow motor? You can lift up the pallets of all the stuff and drive it around. Little machine gun nests everywhere to guard the farm. There's a Chi-Com truck, supply truck. And you got the city, what it looks like when it's being carpet munitioned by Chi-Com heavy bombers. See all the buildings caving in and dilapidated, blasting to pieces, just spilling out into the street. This one got narrowly missed. That's not to say another one wasn't about to drop on it. See all these chunks flying everywhere. Man, I put so much detail into this for people. So much detail. When I told people it took a lot of time and energy to make these projects, I wasn't joking about it. It really did. It took hours upon hours upon hours to make these. Here's the Chinese PL-66 towed howitzers firing on. This was at the Waco battle in my third story. This is when they were taking over Waco. This is like Western Waco. This is where the Brazos River runs through. See a little bridge over there, and little roads off in the distance, forests, everything. I put so much detail in this. Cannon. Dude grabbing a shell. Here's some mechanized infantry going into the town here, or going into this part of the city. See all the artillery shells hitting in the city and off on the hills. Yeah. Put a lot of detail in this. Hey, Nixie, I'm glad to see you. I hadn't seen you in a long time. Hey, Heather, great to see you. Oh, yeah, no problem, Flipper, man. I loved my career. I loved it until they turned it woke, and they ruined it. But I was getting out anyway at the time. Thanks, Heather. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you too, Nixie. Again, I appreciate you. Hey, Michael. Great to see you, man. I hadn't seen you in a minute. Hope you've been doing well. Yeah, this was the Chi-Com columns advancing up the interstate. This was the destroyed American tanks that tried to come out of Fort Hood, and this is I-35. And this is just a column passing by already destroyed tanks that were destroyed already. They're just passing by, going up the invasion route, up I-35. You see how they're like in their 360-degree security. This guy's guarding the front approaches. He's guarding the side. This guy's guarding this side. Yeah, the Chinese, did you know, data analysts, did you know, according to the Chinese purchasing power parity of their money, did you know that they're actually spending nearly as much as we do on defense? And their stuff's cheaper, too? That's why China has this beefed up, humongous, ginormous freaking military. Yeah, data analyst, I think that's stupid, man. This whole thing is retarded. This country's gone stupid, man. Straight stupid. It's like we're the people that would protect it, but like, yeah, they demonize us. They demonize us when we're the people that would strive. We would strive to keep this place safe. Yeah, I put a lot of detail into all this, man. This was a lot of work to make all of this, just to sit down and sketch it out, and yeah, I wanted my projects to be like, I know I'm low budget. I'm very low budget. This is like low budget history channel. The Chad Karr channel is low budget history channel. I know I'm low budget, but I mean, hey, at least I put a lot of detail into the art, into the concept art that goes with the documentaries, It goes with it. And it's actually, not that bad, for just sketch art, Here's the Nanchang Q5 that was strafing and dropping munitions on the vehicles that were trying to flee Broken Bow with the logistics. Remember when the partisans in the first story fled and they went into the Ozarks? This is Route 259. And this earlier drawing here was when they were trying to protect Route 259 so that people could flee. When the pincers were closing, people were still trying to flee. And these guys were trying to protect the road and keep it open. You see, this guy has one of the few stolen rocket-propelled grenades that they got at the beginning. They're trying to hold off the Chi-Coms just long enough so that as many people could get out as they could. When I tell people about evacuation, these are the conditions I'm talking about. Stuff like this, like you got like tactical fighter bombers swooping down and spraying, roads with exploding rounds and dropping, from their nose cannons and dropping munitions and hitting stuff with precision on their dive runs. Yeah, I like Monograph. Whoever said that, let me see. This my thing keeps hiding from me. Yeah, Monograph's cool, man. Yeah, Flipper, they are, man. Yeah. Oh, yeah. China keeps cranking out them aircraft carriers, boy. They ain't joking about that. They ain't playing. They keep cranking them out. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Data analysts. Their manufacturing capacity is insane. China produces more right now, as in the last 5 years right now. China produces more military armaments than the Soviet Union did at its peak. That's right now, in the last 5 years. China has outdone the Soviet Union in terms of like its ability to manufacture military armaments, vehicles, everything. China has the capacity right now, without retooling their bus and car factories, just their straight up armaments factories, China has the capacity right now to build 750 tanks annually. Main battle tanks. And these are complicated tanks. These aren't like the old school like Type 59Ds that they have a ton of, that they just, if these were like lower quality tanks, they could crank out even more, way more. But these are high quality tanks, and they can crank out 750 high quality tanks a year, like the Type 96Bs and the Type 99As. That's directed at you, data analyst by night. Those are just the tanks. I'm not even talking about like the APCs and the IFVs. China has a freakish amount of those. It's crazy. Yeah, China's just ginormous. They used to give me anxiety, data analyst by night. They used to give me anxiety when I would study the Chinese. They used to scare me, like seriously. Like I would always like, I would always fear communist China because of how big they are, how powerful they are, how many people are there. I mean, my God, even if all they had was just human wave, they would. Oh my God, man, like they would overwhelm anyone. Even the Soviet Union was scared of China back in the Cold War when they had their temporary tensions. Nikita Khrushchev himself said if the Chinese cross the into Siberia from Manchuria, if they cross in force, like in the millions, he said they would have had to use nukes to stop them. That's how scared they were of China. Yeah, it is frightening, data analyst by night. China's just freakishly big. Ah, you're funny, all smiles. That's funny. Yeah, I've heard that too when I was growing up, all smiles. I used to hear that too. Oh, yeah, Nixie, you're good. You're good, Nixie. Yeah, I have a lot of work done if you want to catch up on it. My whole entire playlist for the internal conflict is finished. I showed a lot of that artwork at the beginning of this stream. If you're interested in that, you would probably really enjoy that. It's a whole documentary series. It's 5 videos in order. Yeah, this is in a town in the first story. This is when the this is by the time where the partisans had acquired HJ-12 anti-tank missiles, or HJ-8s. I'm sorry, they acquired the HJ-8s and they mounted them on ATVs like 4-wheelers and stuff. They would ride into town on 4-wheelers, do a quick hit and run assault, and then bounce. See the Chi-Coms here coming down with their infantry fighting vehicle and their light tanks like their Type 62Gs and their armor personnel carriers. This guy's hiding behind a wall as these 30 millimeter, or I'm sorry, as these 25 millimeter rounds are hitting right here, blasting like little grenades. This guy just chunked a grenade, so did he. Here's where a house used to be. There's a bunch of rubbled buildings. Roof's all caved in this one. It's been blasted out. Oh yeah, there's a guy right there too. Machine gunner. Yeah. Yeah, China used to give me anxiety too, data analyst by night. They still kind of do because I know they're coming. I know they're coming. So are their Russian buddies, but I'm more concerned about China because they're drastically way more ginormous. I mean, Russia's pretty big and bad, but China like puts Russia to shame even. They're so huge. Chi-Com troops doing, like, if you guys watch my community story tab review, how they scale the windows, they shoot out the window, throw a grappling hook, deploy grenades in there to make sure there's no enemies that'll, drop them. Then they climb up. That's what they're doing here. They're doing like a building assault tactic type thing. Here's a Russian tank here. This is the guy Alexandrovich in my story, the Russian tank platoon sergeant. This is his tank right here going through Fort Hood. This is Fort Hood, one of the bases. That was the post I was on. See everything on fire and just blasts and everything. I put so much into this art here. Yeah. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, I already showed everybody this one. This one's pretty good. It's big. After, what did you say, Hunter? Oh yeah, Nixie, thank you. Yeah, you'll enjoy it. You will. Yeah, long term after the invasion and occupation, do you think there will be breakout societies that are self-sufficient? I see well, no, there's not going to be any like big government, Hunter. That's the whole thing. Like, the West is over. Like, once America is conquered, the West is finished. So is its elites. Their only civilizations will be like mutual defense nomadic tribals, like in my stories that I wrote and my documentaries. There'll be partisan tribes that resist the occupation, that are like mutual defense tribal, nomadic tribals, or they're semi-nomadic, where they have like preset places that they rotate around on a rotational basis to stay away from the Chi-Coms when they do their patrols and stuff. You're never going to want to stay in one spot, basically. See this SU 35, I think, coming down there. Yeah, there it is. There's one too. It just did its run, hit right there. Yeah, you're not gonna wanna be in one spot too long during the invasion and occupation. The West is over with basically by that time. Like, I made two different timelines. Thank you, Nixie. Yeah, I made two different timelines, Hunter. I made one about an internal conflict happening, and I also made one about I made one with an internal conflict, and then I made one without. The one without is the straight up invasion, where we're like living life like we are right now. It's basically a best case scenario for America, where we didn't have an internal conflict. All we have is the economic problems like we're having right now, and then an invasion gets tossed onto us. And when that happens, Hunter, then that's when people can resist, because nobody's like slaughtered each other in an internal conflict first. But I also made a timeline with the internal conflict, like you see the art for. This is my internal conflict, where there's different factions, like in Syria, like during the Syrian civil war. This is like the same concept. There's different American factions. I made a whole documentary on it, Hunter, if you'd want to watch it. It's 5 videos long. It's in the playlist. It's the second American civil conflict playlist. It's like a Syrian-style conflict with different factions. In fact, I'll show you the different factions while I got the art. This is a National Salvation Revolutionary Front's faction. This is one of their many HIMARS rocket systems, rocket artillery systems, and it's firing a rocket here. And then just below it, you got let me see here. You got the Mormon State, which was like a radical fringe sect of Mormonism that took control of the entire Mormon church, and they turned it radical. And it was sort of like the, Mormon equivalent of like the Tally to the Ban, or the ISIS, if you know who they are, ISIS. Yeah, it was sort of like the radical Mormon equivalent to that. This is a couple of their technicals that they up-armored. Here's a stolen Chinese machine gun that they took from the other faction called the La Raza narco state, who had arms, who had like Russian and Chinese weapons, because China and Russia wanted to destabilize America, so that they gave the La Raza faction some of their old weapons that they have like tons and tons and tons of, like the machine guns, RPGs, things like that. Just real simple things, easy to mass produce, that they already have like in the hundreds of thousands, if not millions. So they gave them to the La Raza narco state, and different factions, of course, would take each other's weapons off the battlefield, or if they captured different units, they would take their weapons and just use them, press them into service, like this bishop of the Mormon state shooting this captured W85, 12.7 millimeter machine gun, which is basically like a Chi-Com 50 cal, but bigger, but longer casings on the bullets. So it's got a lot more kick. Yeah, they do. Thank you, Heather. That's what I was going for. I was trying to. These are the atrocities factions. These are the atrocities different factions committed in the civil conflict. This is the Mormon state. This is their religious police that did the beheadings for people that refused to convert to Mormonism, to their brand of Mormonism. And because they had an extreme brand of Mormonism, it was really radical, really out there, led by some crazy kooks. The Mormon state. I'll show you the leaders here in a second. And this is a paramilitary force that did the executions for the other faction. It was like a secular humanist, ultranationalist faction, not fascist, but ultranationalist. They were diametrically opposed to globalism because they were pro-ultranationalism. They wanted nation state to be above everything. They hated globalists and all they stood for, so they executed a lot of them, like by hanging or shooting or hacking limbs off, like in African civil wars, or lighting them on fire after tying them to stakes. There were all kinds of ways that they did people in. This was a very brutal faction, but so were they. They were equally pretty brutal in their own right. Yeah, it is, all smiles. Yeah, exactly, Hunter. This is the timeline. When I did the internal conflict, that's the timeline where we do weaken ourselves, because we fight each other to exhaustion in an internal conflict. So that way, when Russia and China come in, because China's a very austere culture, and so is Russia. They're very austere, meaning they're very frugal. They like to not have to spend a lot of effort or money or anything on anything if they don't have to. They're very austere. Whereas the West wants to live on borrowed everything, borrowed money that doesn't exist, like credit, and they just want everything now, now, now. Well, China is a very patient culture. So is Russia. They play the long game, you know. But this is like the examples of the weapons of mass destruction that were gained in the internal conflict. Because if America's at war with itself, you're going to have different factions grabbing different weapons of mass destruction, like chemical weapons, like these VX nerve agent shells. VX is a nasty chemical. You get a little bit of VX on you, man, you're going to stop breathing. Your whole central nervous system's going to stop working. You won't even be able to draw breath. You'll just die. You'll suffocate. It's a nasty way to go. Yeah, I saw it when I was in field artillery. We had VX shells in our manuals, in our field artillery manuals. I never got to see one in real life because they're kept in certain depots, but they had VX shells in our manuals, and they had a special procedure when you were going to fire VX shells, like the 155 VXs. You had to suit up in level 4 mop gear, like all your mop gear. You had to put on all your chemical weapons suits, your nuke, chemical, and bioweapons hazmat suits. They call it your MOP suit in the Army. It's called MOP, M-O-P-P. You had to put on all your MOP gear, and you had to, make sure that there was no leaky shells, because if you had a leaky shell, it could kill people that unintentionally. This is one with the fuse put on it. It has a timed fuse on it. When you use the fuse setter wrench, sometimes they have like a little knob on the timed ones where you can set the timing on it so it air bursts when you fire it. This is an M198 howitzer here. It's a towed howitzer. You can see all the detail I put into it. There's all the little knobs and the collimator right here. The collimator is how you set your artillery piece so it's accurate in its position. Another VX shell. One of the cannon crew people here. This could be any faction using these WMDs now. It could be, because there were 3 factions that had chemical weapons. The Mormon State had them. The faction that used it the most was probably the NSRF, the National Salvation Revolutionary Front. They were the secular humanist ultranationalist faction. They used chemical weapons the most out of all 3 that had it. The regime had it too. The regime, the Mormon State, and the NSRF had chemical weapons. They all had VX and sarin shells. Nasty weapons. They're considered weapons of mass destruction. Then there was the Mormon State. They were the only faction in the whole entire scenario that carried out an attack with a nuke. They ended up getting their hands on some nukes, and they rigged one up inside of a camper. And they had a proxy group called the Mormon Way. It was like a European Mormon extremist group that came, and they were protected. They had like shelter and were protected by the Mormon State faction, because they wanted to fight alongside the Mormon State to gain battle experience so they could be hardened militants for when they went back to Europe. Sort of like how people joined ISIS when they went to Syria. You know who ISIS is. When they went to Syria in the Syrian civil war, people fought alongside ISIS so that when they went back to Europe, they'd be hardened militants, like sleepers or whatever. That's basically what this faction that the Mormon State, they protected 2 groups called the Mormon Way, and the other one was called like the Mormon Martyrs Brigade. Yeah, I got real detailed with this scenario. Like I broke it way down to all kinds of details. Yeah, these are the here's the faction leaders. Of course, you have the rogue regime. It's the globalist regime. You got their little corporation flag with the gold fringing. You got the shadowy global elites, the uber rich, that control the puppets, the regime people. They wanted to do their great reset, but it failed because all the other factions rose up and, sort of threw a wrench in their great reset plans. If you watch that documentary, you'll see exactly why and how. You see how it plays out. This is a nation of nearly 340 million people. It's like I've always said, it's really naive to think that there's not people out there plotting and scheming with their own plans, their own propaganda, their own ham radio operators to spread their ideologies and everything else. There's people secretly doing things in the dark. It's naive to think they're not. Then you have the Mormon State. I only did 3 of their leaders. They have like a whole council. It's like a whole bunch of their religious nuts They're religious kooks. Like, these are like a fringe sect of Mormonism who took control of Utah and the entire Mormon church. They got rid of the globalist FEMA leader, and they took control of it and radicalized it. This is Supreme Acolyte Josiah. He's like their supreme leader. He's called Supreme Acolyte Josiah. I modeled him off of Mullah Omar from Afghanistan, the Afghan mullah who had a dream that told him that they needed help in Afghanistan. So he went to Afghanistan after an angel told him no, this is real. Like, go read about it. Like an angel told Mullah Omar to go to Afghanistan in the Soviet-Afghan war because they needed help. And he went there, and he was like an ace with a rocket-propelled grenade. Some sources say that he single-handedly took out 20 old Soviet tanks with an RPG, like the Type 50, or I'm sorry, not Type, but the T-55s that the Soviets used in Afghanistan. Some sources say that Mullah Muhammad Omar took out 20 with a rocket-propelled grenade. So I kind of modeled Josiah off of him. He's like the head of the Mormon state, the Supreme Council of Elders. This is his right-hand man. His name is Grand Acolyte Mordecai. He's all hardcore, decked out in his plate carrier and his AK and his grenade. He's the head of all the Mormon state's military forces. They call him the commander of the faithful. I have to laugh at it because these types of people are real. Like, there really are kooky, like, religious people like this out there. There really are. I mean, God, I mean, if they're over in the Middle East, and, you know, they're here too. I mean, hell, it's not like we're special. Here's the guy that raised the Brigham Young Brigade. That was the forces that took over the Mormon Church in the initial takeover when the internal conflict began. They took over Utah and the Mormon Church. He raised up the Brigham Young Brigade, and then he got transferred. His name's Acolyte Issachar. He's just a regular acolyte. But the acolytes go fight in battle alongside their troops. Like, they're so fanatical. Like, they race into battle with their troops. Like, they ride into battle. Like, he raised up the Brigham Young Brigade, and then he got transferred to command the foreign volunteer forces that were called by the Faith Forces. They were like a foreign, volunteer militia that they raised up. It started with a trickle, and then it swelled into a river. They started getting thousands of these guys from, like, Brazil and Philippines and Mexico, places with really big Mormon populations, fairly big. Yeah, they all came to the Mormon state. They answered Acolyte Josiah's edicts and his call to come to the Mormon state after he radicalized the entire church. He convinced everybody that the end times prophecies of Joseph Smith were coming to pass, and then it was time to create the end time Mormon state. He radicalized the whole Mormon church. I mean, there really are. There's crazy people out there. To deny that is crazy. Then, of course, you had the Free American Army, which I modeled off of the Free Syrian Army. Their logo is an eagle throwing 2 hand grenades. What's that, Heather? Yeah, they could have been, Heather. I mean, it could have been self-sabotage or it could have been foreign sabotage. At this point, it's hard to determine because we're on a path where the Western elites are destroying their own power base, but we're also simultaneously being weakened by China. China's doing a lot of insidious things to us. Yeah, Nixie, you're probably not in a bad area, I mean, that's not like prime real estate that anyone's going to try and take over, not right away. You probably got some time you got some wiggle room, as they say, before it gets real bad. This was Lieutenant General Mathis in my documentary. He was the lead officer who organized the junta, and the junta is just a group of officers like generals and admirals, whatever. He organized the junta, and they launched a coup, but their coup failed. It almost succeeded, but it failed. But what did happen was the Free American Army was born, and it was when the army split into a couple different factions. Some of the army, most of the army became part of the Free American Army. Some of it stayed loyal to the regime, and other elements of it went to Texas, Florida, or the NSRF and the other one, Mormon State. But he commanded the Free American Army, Lieutenant General Mathis. He was the supreme commander of the Army Reserves. And oh wait, I'm missing somebody. Oh yeah, I'm missing the National Salvation Revolutionary Front leadership. Hold on. These guys are like some of the worst that I'm about to show. Now, in my documentary, these guys committed more atrocities, I think, than anybody. Well, no, the Mormon State's pretty close. Mormon State's pretty much like tied with these guys for the most radical. They had an apocalyptic showdown. It ended up being the bloodiest battle in the whole war, where they had a showdown over Warren Air Force Base because both factions wanted the nukes, and the NSRF took over the base from the regime. They captured it from the regime. So they started sending some of the nukes by train when they had limited fuel for trains, limited diesel. So they send some of the nukes back to Lincoln, which was their capital of their faction. But the Mormon State challenged them for the rights to the rest of the nukes, and they had this humongous battle there. And these are the Troika. This is the Troika, the infamous three leaders of the NSRF faction. A different logo because this is like their paramilitary that he's the head of. His name's Alfred Motufu. He's the son of two Congolese immigrants, but he was born in America, so he's got like no accent. He's American. But he was just really interested in his parents' native land, and he studied Mobutu Sese Seko, the former dictator of Zaire, who was an ultra-nationalist Congolese dictator of Zaire, and he wanted the same for America. He led the National Salvation Revolutionary Front Radio, which is like a pirate radio station that broadcast propaganda, and he basically. Yeah, that's cool, Michael. Just do your thing, man. Just listen. You can listen all you want, man. I'm just talking, just enjoying myself, explaining, details about the docu-series that I made. Well, Alfred Motufu, the son of two Congolese immigrants, he came and he was interested, when he was born here, but he was interested in his parents' native land. So he studied it and he learned about the civil wars in Congo and all the atrocities that happened in Congo. And he wanted to do the same here in America. He wanted to make America an ultra-nationalist nation. So he worked at a local TV station. He was like a newscaster. So he learned of Project Mockingbird, and he ended up becoming a spin doctor himself. But he turned his propaganda skills against the regime, and he quit the news network and he started his own pirate radio station, and it was called NSRF Radio, and he started spreading his ultra-nationalist ideology and propaganda via his pirate radio station, and he began an underground propaganda empire, which spread leaflets, memory sticks with his programs on it, everything. Like, this guy became a master psyop artist, and he ended up being the one of the Troika leaders. Originally, these three men, they came from a leadership corps of about 150 people, but they ended up purging 40 of them for not being radical enough, because they were originally more like right-wing, like conservative-leaning, but then they took it in a warped, really crazy direction because they became like secular humanists, where they, wanted to make the state a god. And their slogan was, "We build a god out of blood from the ground up," because they murdered their way to the top. That was how they wanted to rebuild America, off the bodies of the dead globalists and everybody else they hated. So he started his ultra-nationalist radio station, and he was part of the leadership core of what became the NSRF. Now, at the time when the internal conflict and the riots and everything, and the food stamp riots and the, and the currency collapse, the food and fuel collapse, when all of that stuff happened and all the civil unrest began, this guy started spreading his propaganda everywhere. He had his network spreading propaganda everywhere. And then he told his ham radio operators to spread it around the country too. And then the colonel here, is a retired Army Green Beret Colonel McGregor, and he is one of the NSRF leaders and of the Troika, of the three men that rule the NSRF. Well, he came out of its leadership corps as well, the 150-man leadership corps. And this guy is his right-hand man here, the Professor Albertson. He is a math professor from the University of Iowa. Like, these could be real people. Think about it. These all could be real people. Think about it. This is a nation of 340 million people. People don't think that there's people like this out there. They're crazy. So this guy is a math professor. If you guys ever studied the Khmer Rouge, There was a math professor in the Khmer Rouge that ran the S-21 prison where some of the most disgusting atrocities happened to the Cambodian people. He also helped micromanage the killing fields in Cambodia. Well, he ended up sort of being the same way because he looked at human beings like there were numbers. And that's a trait of secular humanism, not valuing human life, looking at them like they're numbers. So this guy was like the Terminator. You know, he ended up running the prison system in the NSRF, which took over the old prisons that the regime had, but he turned them into like murder centers or POW camps, and he micromanaged them, and he committed a lot of horrible atrocities in there. They hacked off limbs and did a bunch of other stuff too. They're horrible. But this guy was like the guy that coordinated everything, Colonel McGregor. He led the military wing of the NSRF. He led the political wing and the paramilitary, which is the Jolly Roger Death Brigades, because you see their logo. It's like a Jolly Roger, but it's rifles. And then he ran the logistics. He ran the logistics, and he ran the prison system. So these three men together comprised the leadership troika of the NSRF faction, of that faction in the internal conflict scenario. So, yeah. And then these here, these were some of the atrocities committed by their men. These are members of the National Salvation Revolutionary Front. These are like their paramilitary Jolly Roger Death Brigades. They're about to light one. This is what they reserved for their worst enemies. They'd douse them in gas and light the tinder and just burn them to a stake. These guys hacking off a limb here. This guy's pointing his weapon at him and make sure he don't move. They would let these guys go, but they would cauterize the wound with a hot iron and then let them go as a testament to their brutality. These are mass graves. I tried to make this as realistic as I could. I don't sugarcoat nothing for nobody because I'm trying to show people what real life is. This is real life stuff. Like, this is the stuff that happens in third world countries. So when America becomes third world, this is the type of stuff that could happen here too, easily, and it will. This is their flag, their Jolly Roger flag. This is like a garden shed. This is like a bivouac area that they're, putting their supplies in this garden shed. It's like a killing field and a bivouac area for the NSRF's paramilitary death squads. Yeah, Heather, I try to do that for everybody. I give it to people real. Sometimes people don't like it. I mean, it's raw. It's raw. My channel's raw as hell. It's like the low-budget history channel, but like R-rated history channel. It's R-rated because I show adult content here that's made for adults to understand the types of things that are coming to this country. This is adult content. This ain't for kids. This ain't for no kids. No, kids need to stay off of here. The parents need to watch this so the parents know how to protect their kids from this shit. Because this shit's coming here. Best believe it. We got to protect our kids from it. I got a son too. You think I want my son living through this shit? Hell no, I don't want my son living through this shit. But it's coming. So here's different, like a little panorama of some of the art here. Yeah, Heather. Yeah, this is adult content for sure. This ain't for kids. It's for grown-ass people to do grown-ass things and learn how to survive grown-ass situations. This is war. It's what it looks like. These are men firing in the rubbled building at another building with other enemies in it, firing back. Like that short little video clip I showed of the Syrian civil war where they're all fighting in the streets against each other and in buildings. This guy's about to fire an AT-4 out the window, anti-tank weapon. Yeah, Heather, they do. They need to get their head out of the mud. Yeah, they're firing a 155 howitzer here, an M198 155 millimeter, firing one out here in the desert behind a berm. This is one of the desert battles out in my scenario. Then up here you got more street battles. You got a tank, and another tank got hit on fire. You see the wheel, the wheels blown off, and the tracks slipping off, taking flames in. So this one just fired around, and it blasted in the distance there. This guy's firing an RPG from behind the corner. These guys laying down fire. These could be like militias or whoever. It could be any faction, because a lot of the factions had armor at a certain point in the scenario. So same with artillery. Most factions had artillery by a certain point. because the Army fractured, so did the Marines. The Army and the Marines sort of fractured and went different ways, joined different factions, according to local loyalties, of course, or you know, besides local loyalties, they had ideological loyalties too. Like some of them were ultranationalists to the core, and so they joined the core forces of the ultranationalist faction, the NSRF. The NSRF was brutal. Them and the Mormon state were probably the two most brutal on the entire map. They were even worse than the regime in terms of atrocities. But the regime and the La Raza narco state were also up there in the top 4 most evil. All the other factions were actually sort of tame by comparison. Like Texas was civil, the Free American Army was civil, Florida was civil. Even the Army of the Southeast, the Maine Militia, and Northwest Conservative Army and Union of Southwest Militias, they were all pretty civil. They didn't torture people. They rarely did battlefield executions. I mean, they were pretty tame, you know? I mean, you're not going to stop like every little thing, but I'm saying like mostly they all observed Geneva Conventions except for La Raza narco state, the regime, even though the regime lied and claimed they didn't, of course. They abused their prisoners, sometimes executed them. But the Mormon state and NSRF, they were the most brutal by far. Here's a Mormon state suicide truck that they packed and daisy-chained a bunch of artillery shells and C4. This thing would make a ginormous blast. They're about to quickly shut the doors on it so it can depart for its final mission. These guys, these are technicals off on the ridge shooting at this technical, and these guys laying down fire to try and make it, you know, give support so these guys can hurry up and get that shut. Guy standing guard right here. These guys laying fire at these technicals. These are the Mormon state. So this is like one of their acolytes, one of their, like, basically a general in the Mormon state, and he's firing from his technical. He's in battle with his troops. I told you they ride into battle with their troops. They're fanatical. There's a mortar team here, about to drop one in. This guy's about to depart for his final mission. This is like these were like the Union of Southwest Militias over here firing back, because they got into some battles with the Mormon State's Brigham Young Brigade in that sector of the war. Of course, that's all in the documentary. If y'all want to watch the docuseries, it's great. I watched it the whole way through, and I was actually, you know, pleased with it. But yeah, that's all the artwork, y'all. So I'm just going to start talking to everybody now. Showed what I want to show. Hope y'all enjoyed the art show, the art gallery. So, yeah, what have you all thought of the work so far? Have you all really gotten into it? I mean, is there any of the work that you all are most interested in, or that stuck with you the most? You know, I like to hear feedback about it. You know, it's good to know that, you know, what helped people or what people felt was like most impactful as far as like helping them in their preparations, you know. Well, yeah, definitely, Heather, definitely. Yeah, so I mean, if you guys want to give me some feedback, tell me what you think. You know, I'm all ears. I'm all ears. I love me some feedback. I'm gonna have to plug this in though before it dies. Yeah, it was a good art show. Let me see what people are saying here. David Canterbury. I don't know who that is. I only got one person in here. Oh, okay. Well, it was cool talking with y'all. Y'all be blessed. Oh, it's okay, Nixie. You can catch up. There's a lot of stuff you can catch up on. It's all really good. I promise. Y'all be blessed, or you be blessed, Nixie. I guess you're the only one in here. Everybody ditched me. Oh, no, Heather's still here. It says I got one person. Oh, yeah, Heather, always. I try to make everything based entirely off my combat experience, my experience in Iraq, coupled with what I've studied, like what I know about the different vehicles and equipment, coupled with what I know about history and what I know about current events and what I know about current military structures and different militaries. I structure everything off of combining aspects of all of that. That's how I come up with these, you know. It's almost like God gives me downloads because it's like God gave me all that life experience and had me study all this so that I could actually comprise all these things in a really coherent logical manner where people can understand it. I try. Oh, now it says I have 7 people in here. That's cool. Yeah. Oh, 8 people now. Nice, nice. Yeah, I was about to go. I guess I'll stay now that I got more people. But yeah, yeah, these scenarios, Heather, I try to keep them legit for everybody so that people can use them for their, own benefit. I legit care about people. I really do. I really legitimately care about people. I don't. Yeah, thank you, York Jess. Yeah, I don't just do this. Why would I just do this? There's no reason for me to just do this. I mean, I could do other things with my time, but instead I want to help people. This is how I help people. So yeah, I mean yeah, Nixie. I mean, this is real life shit. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It is what it is. I mean, like I said, when I went to Iraq, I kind of wanted to stay there because I was, worried about coming home to a country like this because it didn't feel right coming back here. I didn't feel right. I was really throwed off when I first got home from the war. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I was throwed off, like mentally. Like I was really aggressive and, violent. I broke things. I had blackouts. I mean, it was a bad time for me when I got back. You know, but the good thing is over time, time does heal wounds. I mean, over time, I got better and better. Now I'm sort of mellowed out somewhat. You know, I just chill at home and do my work and study and learn, learn, learn. I'm all about learning. As far as like military affairs and economics and geography and all that stuff, I'm like a whiz and all that stuff. I'm like virtually like a professor. I don't need no damn papers to tell me what I know. I know what I know. I mean, no one can take that away from me. I don't need no damn degree or anything to tell me what I know. That's so asinine. The way society is structured is so asinine. You know, you can learn a whole. You can be way smarter than a damn doctor if you read medical books most of your life. You don't need a piece of paper from some building that says you're a doctor. You can read medical books and have probably more knowledge than any doctor. I mean, it just takes dedication and studying, for you to gain knowledge. I'm all about learning. Like I said, I'm the low budget history channel. I mean, you want to see documentaries, man? I got documentaries galore here. I got documentaries galore. You ain't never going to be bored here. I mean, if you're into that type of stuff, if you want to learn, if you really want to learn, I've got lots of educational material here for you to learn from, and it'll teach you about real life adult situations like war, and same with the stories I've written. It's all in the same concept there. Stories, videos go together. It's all the same. It's all the same scenario, situation, minus the internal conflict. That's a different timeline, but that's a timeline where there is an internal conflict. And then at the very end of it, you notice how I say then the invasion begins. But, I don't have to go into all that because I've already shown how that works in my other invasion work. So it's just the same thing, minus that we, instead of not having an internal conflict, we had one and bled us dry, and then the Chi-Coms and Russians invade, doing the same type of invasion that I've already done in the other timeline. You know what I'm saying? It just picks up with the same thing. So yeah, well, thank you, Nixie. I put a lot of effort into this. I hope people are watching it and learning from it because, like I said, I could do other things with my time. Sometimes to be honest with you guys, sometimes I don't even want to do this. Sometimes I'm just like, man, I don't even want to do this anymore. And I just feel like, just quitting because it's just, it's like, well, what's the use? It's like, I feel like not enough people are getting the educational materials that they need, and they're being indoctrinated by psyop products like these big gatekeeper channels that tell lies nonstop. They do. It's all it is. These gatekeeper channels, these huge channels, all they do is tell lies. They take mainstream media stories and they repackage it and read them. That's all they do. That's spreading propaganda. I mean, they're literally taking propaganda from the MSM and they're repackaging it. It's like the mainstream media found a way to infiltrate the alternative media. That's why you cannot trust these big gatekeeper channels. I never will. I've unsubbed from, man, I think all of them. I think I'm unsubbed from every single big channel. I don't trust big channels. You know what I trust? I trust books. I trust articles. I trust things that I can accumulate research and reading upon, and then cross-reference between each type of material to find out which information is correct based upon overlaying information to find overlapping information, which is how you get your facts. If you read over 5 sources on one thing and you find overlapping information, well, then guess what? You just found correct information, because if everything is saying it, or nearly everything is saying the same thing, then you've got the right info. Sometimes it's hard to get accurate information because sometimes there's figures that change as far as like numbers. When it comes to like numbers of vehicles that somebody might have, well, that can change any time because they're always building new vehicles and accumulating new vehicles, or old vehicles might get retired or put in storage. Things change, or you have battlefield losses where you lost a vehicle, then you got to chalk that up as a loss, or whatever. Things change, figures change, but you can keep up with figures by just going back and, rechecking figures. There's a lot of accounting math that goes into this too. And sometimes the numbers get jumbled up in my mind because I'm looking at so many numbers. Sometimes, it's like it all meshes together. It's like, wow, sometimes I'd be reading too long and I need to take a break, but, Oh, I'm glad all smiles. Yeah, those big channels are bad news. They're bad news. You got to really use discernment with a lot of these channels. There's even some small ones that ain't that good either. I mean, you just got to be really, really guarded when you look at certain channels and certain information. It just depends on what it is, who it's coming from. Always consider the source too. When you're looking at information, consider the source. Do they have an agenda, or like what's their aim? Like for me, for instance, my agenda is to help people navigate and survive World War III, also known as Invasion of Babylon, Fall of Babylon. That's my agenda. Okay, so that's me as a source. That's my agenda. My agenda is to help as many people navigate World War III or internal conflict as is possible, humanly possible. That's my agenda. And most people would say my agenda is noble. Some people wouldn't understand that that I'm being spurred on by God, I believe, because that, like I said, there's times I don't even want to do this anymore. But I guess God is continuing to push me to do this. I got one more major thing I have to do, and then I may call it quits after that. I don't know. I might just do my audio book and then just call it quits after that, or may just go back to just doing Friday shows and that'll be it. I don't know. I don't know yet. I have to think about it. It's well, thank you all, Smiles. Yeah, there's really not anybody doing the work I'm doing. I'm not boasting. I'm just telling the truth. Who else is doing this? Like, who else is literally using realistic facts, figures, everything to make hyper realistic scenarios that are going to happen, because we know they're going to happen because they're set up to happen. They're set up to happen. So when I make these, and I'm basing it off of real information that's out there, it's really something unique, yes, because no one else is doing that. No one else is taking realistic information and making hyper realistic scenarios from it, that are so real that it's like reach out and grab you real, because it's real units from different armies, it's real equipment from different nations, it's real people dying or whatever, in different ways too. Like I depict in the documentary series that I made with the invasion and with the internal conflict. So yeah, I mean, there's nobody else, creating content like that. It is unique in that regard. So yeah. Well, Heather, I don't trust him. I've unsubbed from him, and there's a lot of reasons why. He's really pro Babylon, and I don't like that. He thinks America's something that it ain't. He doesn't realize how like depleted this military is, and how broke down it is, and how weak it is. And he straight up told a lie one time, Heather. He said that China. We said that we could beat China 9 out of 10 times, and I laughed at that. I laughed so hard I almost fell out of my chair. I'm serious. Like I unsubbed from him after that. I'm like, this guy's retarded, saying that we could beat China 9 out of 10. This guy's smoking crack. Like, I mean, really? I mean, like, what kind of garbage BS hype nonsense is that? Like, he straight up told a lie. It is, Heather. It's stupid. It's stupid. This guy doesn't know a damn thing about China. For him to say that, he doesn't know, for one thing, he doesn't know anything about the power and might of China right now. And for two, he doesn't know how broke down and weak and depleted and woke and pathetic we've gotten. Like, he doesn't realize that we only have 14 major armaments factories, and China has hundreds. And I'm saying major factories, like big, like Lima, Ohio tank factory type factories. You know, the one tank factory we have in Lima, Ohio. China has many tank factories churning out tanks nonstop because the quota never ends in China. They're always meeting the quota there. There's always a quota to be fulfilled in China because they're communists. They're godless, secular, humanist communists. So, you know, they're always meeting the quota. Like America doesn't meet no quotas anymore. We're broke down. We're like depleted. We're running on fumes. And Canadian Prepper, for him to say that is just a joke, man. I'm like, dude, are you high? Seriously? I mean, like, I don't have no problem with the guy personally. It's not that I don't like him personally. It's just that I think what he said was really like misinformed and really wrong. You know, I mean, like flat wrong. I mean, like that dude was like, really, man, you're just a salesman. Like you're just up there trying to sell your stuff, and you're just saying a bunch of garbage nonsense. You're taking stories from MSM and you're repackaging them because you're a gatekeeper channel. I mean, I would assume so. If you have corporate sponsors and you have all those subs, then there's something wrong there. For me, I always get subscribers shaved off by YouTube. Do you know why? It's because YouTube doesn't want people to see the type of content I create because it's thought-provoking in the sense that it'll make people understand what's coming at us, for one thing, and for another thing, it'll make people realize that they need to get their head out of their ass and start prepping and start learning how to defend themselves and how to prepare and how to become nomadic, how to do field sanitation, how to use tactics or survive enemy tactics, all of the above, all of the above. That's what I have my community tab review for. So it's like when I see these big channels, I'm just like, man, you guys are garbage, man. I don't even want to listen to you guys. I mean, basically. What did you say, Nixie? He said, I'm not ashamed to say that if I see something in your work that I don't see eye to eye to, Chad, I will go behind you, search it out, but so far your work is accurate. Well, yeah, Nixie, it has to be. If it's not, then I don't even want to do this because I don't want to mislead nobody. I mean, you know, it's my intention is not to mislead nobody. My intention is up here to do my best, give my best for everybody so that they can survive what's coming. That's all I want to do. That's it, you know. Well, I don't know, All Smiles. I've never had that problem. I've never had to be on that detail. I've never had, I mean, we had like new privates, you know, stir the shit. We didn't ever do that, you know. I was at the time I was an E4. I was in charge of privates. You know, I was a specialist. I wasn't on shit detail. But yeah, that is how you get rid of it, though. I mean, you stir it, you burn it, and you stir it. And you know, or you can just throw it in your garbage pit. As long as your garbage is burning in your burn pit, you can throw a bag of shit in the burn pit, and it'll just burn it up. Where's the best place to live in the southeastern U.S.? I don't know. I don't know, Elda. I couldn't say. I really couldn't say. Really, there's no place that's safe unless God leads you to a safe place. Like me, I was led out of a very bad place to a safe place. I was living in a big city, and that's a horrible place to be for a situation like either an internal conflict or a, you know, civil unrest even is bad enough. But an internal conflict or a foreign invasion, you don't want to be in those cities. You definitely don't want to be in those cities, no big cities. Yeah, Nixie, you know what? I'm so glad that you've been, real steadfast. You've been always a good subscriber with me, and I'm glad that you realize that, that I'm up here doing my best. I'm glad you know that. That makes me feel good. That I know I'm helping people, and that I know people are getting the best information that they can. Um, yeah, yeah, Heather. I've been to Atlanta plenty of times. I've lived in Macon for a short while. When I was growing up, I finished high school in Macon, actually. I didn't like it there, though. It was kind of boring to me. I mean, but, it was okay. I mean, it wasn't like the worst place I've ever been, but it wasn't like my favorite place. I like Texas a lot more. Texas is my kind of place. It's Texas is just a cool place. I mean, just all the way around is cool. I'm originally from the Northeast. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, but I would never go back there. Not now. Not in this day and age. Hell no. They've totally ruined it. They've totally ruined it. They've ruined it with with all this woke garbage and everything. I would never move up there ever again. It's beautiful up there. Don't get me wrong. Pennsylvania is a gorgeous state. It's a beautiful state. It's got mountains. It's hilly. It's like forested. It looks a lot like Europe. Like when I went to Germany, it reminds me of Germany, or like the landscaping, and it's a beautiful place. But the problem with it is the people running it have totally ruined it. I would never live there. Yeah, all smiles. Yeah, I know you're up there too. I mean, it's beautiful, isn't it? All smiles. Oh, Pennsylvania is a beautiful place, but I know you live there, but I would never move back there. Because they've totally ruined it. But Texas, yeah, it's very hot in the summer. But the good thing, all smiles, is in the wintertime, Texas is the place to be. Wintertime is great here. I mean, it gets cold, but it doesn't get like too bad unless it was like last year when it was like below zero, when it was like -3 Fahrenheit, which was freeze. Man, that was so cold. The houses here are not weatherized for that type of cold weather. They're not insulated properly for cold weather. The houses here are built for hot weather, of course. But the wintertime here, like the houses are rated for like 25 degrees and up, because 25 degrees is below freezing just a little bit, but it's, anything lower than that, you're going to feel it inside the house. Like when we had that storm and it was like -3, it was like 38 in the house in some areas, but then I got a really good heater after that, and it warmed up pretty good. I got me one of those radiator type of heaters. I plugged it in the kitchen and it like warmed up most of the house pretty good. But that was a cold storm. That was a really cold storm. Yeah. Oh yeah, my hand's good. My hand's good. Oh yeah, you remember when I had to kick my back door in? I had to break in my own house because I locked myself out. Yeah, I locked myself out and I cut my hand really bad. It cut into like a vein or something and it bled profusely. I had to break in my house under that condition, and I had to wrap up my hand because it was bleeding profusely. Yeah, it was bad. Yeah, that's funny. I think that's funny you remembered that. Yeah. No, no, my hand's fine. My hand's fine. I fixed my door and everything's good. Everything's good. Yeah, Heather. I mean, yeah, like I said, I couldn't say Georgia's like a bad place. I mean, it's okay. I just like Texas the most. Texas. Oklahoma's nice too. I like Oklahoma too. But like Texas and Oklahoma are like my two favorite places in the country that I prefer to be in. It's just nice here. It's really nice. It's just a really cool all around place. I like the people here. The people here have a really good mindset. They're good, godly people mostly. You know, it's Texas is the place to be. I'm telling you, I love it here. Well, thank you, Nixie. Yeah, yeah, America is falling badly. It's falling badly. You're right. Yeah, yeah, Heather. Northeast is just it's ruined now. It's totally ruined. It's a shame too, Heather, because Northeast is a beautiful place. It's a beautiful part of America. It really is. It's beautiful, but the Northeast is totally screwed up. It's totally jacked up now. I would never move back there. Never, never, never. Yeah, Texas is where it's at. Oh, let me see who else is talking. Stupid thing. I have to push buttons on it. Ah. Yeah, the beach. Yeah, well, yeah, not in wartime, that's for sure. You're right, Heather. Yeah, Texas has some nice beaches. Well, mostly down in Corpus Christi. It's a nice beach. But yeah, during wartime, you don't want to be anywhere near the coast. You don't want to be anywhere near no borders either. Well, really anywhere because the foreign troops are going to come out of wherever the CCP properties are. You want to be in a tertiary, like wooded area. You want to be near the woods because you're going to be living in the woods. You ain't going to be living in no house. Hey, Off Grid, good to see you, brother. Good to see you, man. No, I just made it another year on this earth, Paul. I made it another year. I'm just being sociable. I don't do a lot of streams like this. I'm just reaching out to subscribers, just shooting the breeze with people, just talking. I was just going over some of my past work, showing my concept art and things like that. Yeah, Heather, that was in my internal conflict scenario when the Battle of Macon happened in Macon, Georgia, in my second American civil conflict scenario, where I did the 5 videos on the hypothetical American civil conflict, but Syrian style with the factions. One of the battles was a three-way battle between the Army of the Southeast faction, the Free American Army faction that I modeled off of the Free Syrian Army from Syria, but the Free American Army and also the regime. The regime was there too. They came from Fort Stewart and they all had a battle for the crossroads of Macon because Macon's a crossroads. There's a lot of highways that go through Macon. If you want to control the crossroads, that's a strategic advantage if you're trying to go for logistical transportation, for your supplies. So that's why a battle happened there. I always pick the most logical places for big battles when I make those scenarios. Like there's reasons for why the big battles happen in those specific places. This is Low Budget History Channel, the Chad Karr channel. So yeah, yeah, I'm just glad y'all came. It's good to see all y'all. It's good to see all y'all. But I guess I'm gonna get off here. It's good. It's good talking to everybody. Anybody have anything else to say before I go? Anything? Any burning questions? Any burning comments? Say it now, or forever hold your peace. Well, not forever, just until the next live stream at least. Anybody? Anybody? Going once? Going twice? Nope. Yeah, hey, you too, Paul. Hey, man, thank you for coming, man. It was good to see you. Yeah, made it another year on the earth, man. Hey, you be blessed, Paul. Yeah, thank you, Heather. Thank you. That's kind of you. Thank you. Hey, you all have a wonderful day. You all have a great day. I'm glad to see all y'all. Y'all be blessed. Bye, York Jess. Be blessed. Hey, thanks. Thank you, Paul. Be blessed, man. Bye, all smiles. Y'all be good.